You're muted.
There we go. North South Connection Podcast Network fans, welcome inside the Wrestling War Zone, a Monday Night Wars podcast retrospective series. I am JT, and joining me as ever is my partner Chad. We are available to you on audio on any podcast application, as well as our website, northsouthconnection.com, and on video on our YouTube channel at North South Connection. You can subscribe right here if you're watching us right now, and spread the news. Why not? How's it going?
I'm doing good. We talked about on the show your softball travels and getting a taste of the travel baseball. It's a pretty good grind. Saturday 2 games, Sunday 3 games, Monday 2 games, tonight 2 games.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Practice yesterday, 2 games tonight, and 3 games Saturday.
Ours is not nearly that intense. That's pretty wild.
They're going. They're between. Well, we made the mistake of he's playing in the rec league and the travel.
Yeah.
So tonight he would have just had 1 game, but he had his rec and his travel tonight. So I bumped him up to 2. But the travel, I mean, those tournaments, it's like the one Saturday it said 3-game minimum. But if you're in the like that game, they played 2 games Saturday, and then Sunday they could have played 4 games if they'd have won again, but then they got knocked out. So yeah, and those are like about an hour away, each one, different locations. Where the one Saturday is in Oxford, Alabama. Do you know what WCW superstar is hailed from Oxford, Alabama?
Oh man.
Let me see if this gives you a hint.
I don't know. Who is it?
Lash LaRue.
Oh, that's right. Lash LaRue. Okay.
Yeah.
He's not from Louisiana?
I mean, he may have been billed from there, but he lived in Oxford, Alabama.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think he's from Louisiana and character.
Yeah, they tried the Cajun crowd, but
yeah. Yeah, well, that's good. I mean, hopefully the families are good because that's like a big part of it. You're with them for so much. That is a big part of it. And I'm lucky that my daughter's best friend is on the team. Yeah. So her dad is like close with us and he coaches. So he like picks up a lot and stuff and like drops off. So for like practice, she's kind of handled and stuff like that. So
yeah, no, I mean, I'm there. I'm pretty much there for all the crap. It's funny at the travel stuff, like the people. I mean, it looks like people are going to the beach or a tailgate. Like they bring their tents, they got the coolers. It's like, wow.
Yeah, you might be there all
I was very prepared for the first tournament. I brought like my chair, and that was it. And it was a little dire when we entered our Saturday. Wasn't too bad. They only had 2 games, but Sunday there was some split in the game, so we were there from like 9 to 4. So it was a little shaky.
Yeah, you got to be prepared. You got to bring some snacks, bring some drinks, bring your portable charger. Because she started, it was like in the fall, so they had Sunday tournaments in the fall. So I was watching a lot of football the first few weeks on my iPad, so I had to bring the portable charger, and hope for Wi-Fi and all that shit. But anyway, there we are.
Tried the Mountain Dew Spark. I don't know when there'll be a WWE match.
Spark match.
Bray Wyatt Spark.
Kane, Return of Kane.
Yeah.
Spark. No, I have not. I don't. I've nothing else since the pitch dark.
Pitch black, right?
Whatever it is. I don't know.
Yeah, it was good.
I'm all Coke Zero. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I'll do a Coke Zero. This tastes kind of like a raspberry lemonade, though. It's 0 sugar, too. It's good.
I made use of that soda package on the cruise, all Coke Zero to make it count.
They have the freestyles, right?
Yeah, so I used to either do a Coke Zero or the Cherry Coke Zero. It's pretty much what I lived on.
You're back from your voyage.
Yeah, finally stopped rocking, man. Fucking go back Saturday night, and then Saturday night I was feeling it. Sunday was a little bit. Monday I had to go to the office, and around 11 a.m. I thought I was gonna like pass out. Like the whole office felt like it was friggin' moving. Like I felt like I was in the Twilight Zone. It was like the whole thing just felt like going. And then finally around like noon, like 8, and then it like passed for good. But that's a lot. We were on there. We were on the boat a lot. You know what I mean? It was like how many out of the 7 days?
Yeah, some folks. Largest cruise ship in the
You can
world.
feel
This
that shit,
guy's
man.
acting like he's on the SS Minnow here.
Spent a lot of time on the ends of the boat. You could feel it. You could feel it a lot.
JT Island here. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say I'm a once every 7 to 10 year cruise guy. I think.
Are you really?
I liked it, but I'm not like rushing. I wouldn't like rush back like next
I think there could be. I think there's big potential in a PTB.
Oh, we think so.
Yeah, actually, it'd be fun.
Yeah, that would be the I feel like an adult one with no kids, I think would be different. Like I mean, they were fine and there's plenty to do, but I think one of the big benefits is like you can kind of drink and fuck off, and like you don't have to worry about driving and who's going. Like you're all right there. So I could definitely see and that's what I've been saying to people in the past. Like I could definitely see like if within 2 years we're like, oh, let's do a big group adult only trip, I'd be in. But like kids and all that, I'd probably want to wait a little bit longer. But anyway, that's that. All right, so we're back here, back at it, and we are now 2 weeks removed from In Your House. It's time. We are on the go home for Starrcade.
Yep.
This is episode 99. Crazy enough, and that means Starrcade 96 will be our 100th episode on this podcast.
Yep.
Some said we'd never make it.
How we planned it all along.
One said, but we're here.
It'll be about our. It'll probably be released. I need to look when our actual first episode dropped. It'll probably be like 5 years to the day too.
Yeah,
that we did our first episode. 20 a year, not bad.
Yeah, so we've had dips here and there, but we're back on track now, and we're excited because 97 is gonna be really cool. So we're feeling good about that.
Yep.
All right, let's dive into Raw. Even though we ended with Nitro last time, we usually rotate, but we're gonna do Raw first because it's the go home for Starrcade, so we want to end with Nitro.
Right.
All right, so where are we at for Raw? We still in the same?
Still nice Palace in Tampa. But hey, they did mention, we talked about it on our last episode. They said the next week Raw's live, which is kind of weird. I guess they always do that Northeast tour, so it makes sense on Christmas week. But they're in Albany, New York, and the Knickerbocker Arena, so where 92 Rumble is. So another big between that and the Ice Palace. So that's 2 big arenas in a row. So we do need to keep.
And they're going to the Alamo Dome, which is like the biggest pay-per-view spot they've had in a long time since WrestleMania 8.
The Hoosier Dome. Yeah.
Is that the last taping for the Rumble?
Wembley's actually.
Yeah, Wembley. Yeah. Are they in Albany until the Rumble, or is there another taping after that?
I would guess there's at least another one. They seem to be doing that. Well, let's think.
That might be the 4, because there's 6 weeks I think between shows.
They might do a 4-weeker. We'll keep track of it. And I don't know where they'll be the night after San Antonio. That could be ugly. That could be like Laredo or somewhere they don't want to mention it. The Cajun Dome.
That's a big Raw. So I'll be curious where they're at, because that's a pretty big Raw with Bret and everything starting kicking off his shit.
Yep.
All right, let's head inside the Ice Palace. December 23rd, 96. We go right into the opener. Yet again, Marc Mero taking on Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
Yep.
The feud that's carried us throughout 1996. We cold open with Marc Mero and Sable hitting the ring. Another IC title shot. Ross and King are in the booth, and Vince is teasing King about the Karate Fighters final. We get clips of that, which included Goldust saving Sable. Hunter comes out, and Ross reminds us he could lose the title tonight by disqualification or countout. We get some talk about his nose. King is still bitter at Sable, says she has a wig on. Before we get started, Goldust music starts. He emerges in the crowd with Marlena. They take a seat, not at ringside. They're kind of like up, like halfway.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. But it kind of, even though Ice Palace is still a bigger arena for where we've been, it's made it look kind of small the way where they were sitting, because it was like a really good view of them, but they were like kind of high up.
I like the. I thought they actually did a good camera angle of it though,
Yeah.
because it's like right aligned with the hard cam
Yeah.
on the opposite side. So it was kind of cool. Like I mean, they were up there, but you could tell like who it was.
Yeah.
So it worked. I thought it worked.
All right, so they're out. They're sitting there. Vince's Goldust will be challenging for the Intercontinental title at the Royal Rumble. So whoever wins here is going to be defending against Goldust in San Antonio. Mero attacks at the bell. He hits a flurry, shooting Hunter from corner to corner, knocks him outside. Ross says Mero told him he thinks this could be his last IC title shot, so he's going to make it count. Mero bails out, chases King to the back. Mero returns. Hunter decks him at ringside and slams him on the floor. He grabs a chair, but realizes that it could mean a DQ and the title swapping. So he drops the chair and shoves Mero inside the ring. Vince reminds us that this was all started because Hunter propositioned Marlena in your house. Mero comes back with the right hand. Hunter flings him over the top on a charge, hits a baseball slide. Ross says the Honky Tonk Man is scheduled to join us here tonight on the show. Mero recovers. We get a trade off of pin attempts into a Hunter clothesline. We go to a break. We get a Full Metal ad, the Classy Freddie Blassie one I think that we're going to see for like the next year. When we come back, we trade blows into a Mero Rana. Mero lands a knee lift, heads up top, gets a missile drop kick for 2, gets a Samoan drop. He goes up top. Hunter dodges a moonsault, hits the pedigree, and pins Mero clean.
Very clean.
Mero's angry. He's shuffled off by officials. Hunter grabs the mic and shit talks Goldust about the Rumble. Makes some more overtures toward Marlena. Goldust comes halfway down the steps while Hunter takes off before he can get to the ring. Overall, this is the usual match. I mean, Mero's just been a loser in this entire feud. This really felt like the end of it. We'll see. It feels again like the end. Like we're fully going to Hunter Goldust now. Goldust is kind of sliding into that top spot. No clue where Mero goes for here, but he's dead in the water completely. He's been dead for a while. This was the nail in the coffin. I think he's a dude that probably needs a heel turn. And it's nuts that he hasn't even been here a full year. He's been here 8 months, and he already feels completely washed in this role. The match was pretty basic. They executed it, but it was just a slow pace as usual with these guys. 2 3/4. It was just in line with all their other stuff for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, I'm done with these two. I went 2 1/4. It just I thought Mero looked just like a loser. I mean, there's no other way to say it. Like
Hunter just beats the shit out of him.
Yeah, I mean, he wipes out on his dive, and then Hunter pins him. Easy peasy. Sable was wearing more leather tonight than usual, so she was kind of it felt sort of like a debut of the look that she would sort of have for 97, 98. Kind of had kind of honed in on what her look would be. No, like dress like the velvet dress or whatever. Like we were in the tight leather,
right?
And,
The summer, she had more of the dresses,
had the hair down and everything. But yeah, I mean the match itself was very basic. It's just interesting. I mean, again, it's like I did watch these shows in the order we're talking about it, and it's like as usual the case when I watch. Well, either way, like if I watch Raw first or second, it's always like. But in this case, like when I watched the match, I was like, well, that's inoffensive, but Mero's a loser and whatnot. But by the end, when I watched the mid card WCW stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, that looks worse than 2 hours ago when I just watched the match cold. It just feels difficult for me to be wanting to stay on the channel for this. Like I don't have much engagement in Hemsley and Goldust. It's fine. But I think that's a theme for this episode where, again, we're still so far out from Rumble that they've really been like slow building these feuds. And there's just not any of them that are getting resolved at the Rumble that I'm too interested in. And this is one of them. I mean, it's not awful, but it's not.
Well, Goldust has been pretty boring for a while now, so it's like it's not like an exciting turn in feud. Hunter, is this his best win? I think it may be.
I think it's his best, like straight clean.
That's what I mean. It's like clean, dominant win. Like
I think this is kind of. I mean, from their standpoint, with a win like this, it's like, all right, like any remnants of him being in the doghouse is over with because, like, he clearly is
He's getting strapped up. I
a
mean, it's obvious.
couple of notches ahead of Mero now, and
Yeah.
then in this feud with Goldust, like they're heating Goldust up when he announced he was not gay, and turned face as a result. But yeah, I mean, like they're certainly elevating Hemsley, so that is interesting to see. But
Yeah.
I
But
don't
since the
know.
perfect stuff, really, like since the perfect
Yeah,
bailed and they had Hunter kind of bury him verbally, and then now dominating Mero, and we'll see how it goes into '97. But they're clearly seeing stuff in him, whether it's click driven or
maybe.
just that they see the potential. I think they saw the potential in him anyway, like because like they were starting to push him pretty strongly before the curtain call.
Yeah, he's an interesting prospect, I'd say, around this time because it's so difficult to again like just say, well, what have we seen so far instead of what we know is to come.
Right.
But I mean, again, like I would say, he's been very good, but yeah, I don't even know about very good. He's been good,
Yeah.
so I certainly see the potential. But it's just like I don't know, like when you're in this battle and one side is really knocking it out of the park with a lot of stuff, and then
Mhm.
you have like the up and comers, like I don't fault them from moving towards Hemsley. That's a step in the right direction compared to like Godwin's and just garbage that we saw. So that's fine. But it's also not like a game changer right now. Like to
Right.
me, like your game changers are Mankind, maybe, but even with that, we hadn't necessarily seen the promo side that's to come. So, like, I mean, I liked him in ring, but it is what it is. In Austin, I mean, Austin for sure. So it's interesting to track with Hunter.
Yeah, I mean, it's a guy. It's like almost like a why not, right? Because like
Yeah,
like there's not much else cooking, so why not give it a shot?
yeah. If you look at the locker room and you look who's young and hadn't really had a chance to shine in either promotion, he's about. I don't know who else they could turn to really with the current roster. There's not a
Right.
lot.
All right, we go back to last week with highlights of the Gunn Brothers match, the injury to Billy that closed the show. Ross says Billy's been injury prone. He had neck surgery in the past. Vince says he has partial temporary paralysis, and they hope he'll regain full use of his limbs. Right now, he allegedly, Vince says, has no use of his lower limbs. So, and then closes up. Bart was on Livewire. He says it was an accident. He wishes it was him and not his brother. Neither Billy nor Tina will talk to him about it, but he's very sorry as to what happened. So we spent a lot of time last week kind of talking about like how to sniff this out, right? Like, was it a ruse by Billy? Did he really get hurt? Did you find Vince's comment interesting when he said allegedly?
Yeah, I mean, I don't quite know what partial temporary and paralysis means. I mean, is
I
that
guess
something that happens?
temporarily.
Like all of a sudden you can't. I mean, I don't know. Like,
I guess you temporarily are paralyzed partially.
but
I don't know
then
how they
like
can
you're
confirm it's
backing
temporary
up.
or
I
not.
mean, it's like what is this? Like one morning you're
Yeah.
good, the evening you're not, the next morning I don't know. But it was like I mean this was okay. But to me this is actually what I was talking about in the previous segment where it's like, well, Billy Gunn's also someone they're now trying to like present
Right.
as a serious heel, and like Hunter's better than him. It's like what?
Yeah, I mean that was always going to be the case anyway. Like Hunter was on that track before. I mean Billy just split off and everything anyway. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, I mean the top of the card is so mix match of face heel lines like Sid and Austin, like you said, like they're kind of heels, like Brett and
Yep.
Shawn. But so I mean Helmsley's top three heel right now. I mean it's great. And Mankind, we got Mankind,
Well,
but like
Vader, it depends what you think of Vader, whether
right,
they're trying to rehab him or not. But yeah.
yeah,
Because Bulldog, I would say, is leaning face.
yeah, oh definitely. And Owen doesn't feel like a top guy by any
No.
stretch right now. All right, Sunny's out. She's wearing a tight red dress. She's got a
Yeah.
Santa hat. Vince about feints, and you
Oh,
can't blame him. She
this
joins the
was.
booth. We get the Dirty F Choir with conductor Freddie Blassie singing "Psycho Sid is coming to town." Set to, of course, Santa Claus is coming to town. And then we go right to
Lot
our,
of Freddie Blassie.
yeah, he's big in this
He's a little
diaper. Yeah,
much. I know he comes in the pay per view. He's already been in a couple, hasn't he, for us? And he's all
yeah,
over these pay per view opening. I mean, I like Freddie Blassie, but It's a little much. It's not like he was Hulk Hogan, either as a wrestler or manager. It's a little
Well,
weird.
Vince loved him, right? Like his dad, like it was that
I
whole
guess, yeah, like he was the
obsession
main.
with
Right.
Blassie, and I think part of it is they, it seems like over the last year or so they've leaned more into the legend stuff in '96. Like they didn't do that a lot back in the day.
Right.
Every now and then you'd get one, but it seems like '96, for whatever reason, they've been a little bit more open about their past and like the legends and stuff.
He's like the one they always wanted to trot out, though, which
Yeah,
was weird.
he must have just been like,
Well, they did trot out Captain
we got
Lamar.
Albano. We got Honky coming back, if you consider him a
Oh,
legend, I guess. I mean, he's been gone for what, 5 years from the WWF. I mean, he was in WCW for that minute in '94, but for the most part, he's been off WWF TV since early '91. So
the Three Wise Men stuff is just so different, like because they would leave in Madison Square Garden, like after they brought their charge out
right,
in the 70s and 80s, like they would turn around and go back. So you're so used to like blatant interference and or somebody like Sherry where she's pretty
in the
much
match,
wrestling
basically.
harder.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's so different. And then even like when they are doing promos of the stuff we have on TV at like Championship Wrestling and All Stars, it's not. I don't know. I mean, I guess I could see it, but it's always like, oh, okay. It makes Jimmy Hart in Memphis look good in my eyes. I'll say that because he's like everywhere and he's bumping
right.
around and stuff. And then you got Blassie, who he managed a lot of the international talent. That was his thing. He was a
Right.
foreigner manager,
And he'd
and
leave, yeah.
yeah, he was always like their
Or
mouthpiece.
Albano would happen to start managing a tag team the day they win the
Yeah, oh
titles.
yeah, he was the tag specialist. But
Yeah.
Albano's promos to me though actually are the ones that when you go back and watch in retrospect, you're like, all right, like this is like what you think of like a heel manager and stuff. Like Blassie a lot of times would just be like, we're gonna crush you. And it's like, okay. And like the wizard be like, he was always
My biggest
very
issue with Albano was what I said. Like the Bulldogs thing is ridiculous. Like he starts managing them like a few weeks
I
before
mean
they win
by
the
then
titles, and then
head
him. I mean,
shrinkers
it's
and shit.
hilarious. Like him celebrating with Ozzy while like poor Dynamite's dead on the
Oh
floor,
yeah.
and Davey's like gassed, and like
Oh yeah.
Albano and Ozzy have the belts celebrating like
Oh yeah.
they fucking won the titles.
It's good. It's good stuff.
All right, back to the ring we go. We got a rematch. It's a third rubber match. Well, could it be a rubber match if one guy's won all of them? But so November 25th, Raw and the In Your House free for all. That's Rocky Maivia taking on Salvatore Sincere. Rocky jogs out, very horny, Sonny as always for him.
Yeah.
Jim Cornette is with Sal Sincere apparently. Rocky spurned him, and Ross says Rocky will be in the Rumble match. Vince hypes up Shotgun Saturday Night, coming live on January 4th from the Mirage nightclub in New York City. Rocky sticks and moves early. He hip tosses Sal over the top. Sonny's smitten. Sal pulls Rocky outside. Rocky lands a punch and shoots him in the ring. Sal catches Rocky coming back in, hammers away. Vince reveals that Goldust will take on Jerry Lawler next week in Albany, and that Sid will be live on Livewire in studio this weekend with Sonny. Sal floats over a charge, gets a nice sidewalk slam for one. Ross says Sal's wrestling a lot smarter than the last match. Sal shoots Rocky to the corner, hits a sit-out clothesline for two. Sal keeps pounding away as Sonny says she is known to corrupt young men. Ross stays pretty neutral here, thankfully. Sal gets two on a Russian leg sweep. Rocky ducks a punch, hits a clothesline, revs back up. Ross says a lot of folks in Georgia have a shortage in ethics, Chad.
Mm-hmm.
Rocky gets a float over DDT and finishes the match with a shoulder breaker. Sonny puts the hat on Vince and pinches his cheeks, which is whatever. Sal continues to be proficient, a little long, but the crowd seemed okay. Rocky showed some charisma as well. He worked fine. He seemed a little clunky than the first couple times, so maybe he's starting to feel more comfortable. I went 2.25. This is kind of whatever.
Star and a half. Don't like these two together. Don't like Sal Sincere, and that continued to be the case. Speaking of people being like dephased with the Mero, Cornette, like trotting out here with Sincere, it was like, oh my god! Like you talk about somebody that was just all over TV, overexposed. But
He's almost done. I think he's only got a couple more
yeah.
weeks, and he's pretty much done. Like until he has like little spurts here and there where he shows up and does stuff, but for the most part, like he's done as a full-time guy now.
Audibly gasped when he was managing Sincere. I was like, oh, I was like, whoa.
Well, I
what
think it
happened here?
wasn't as much that he was supposed to be with Sincere as it was he's with the guy against
Like
Rocky.
trying to, because Rocky shunned him or whatever. Yeah, I mean, they tried that, but it's still like, it looked like for him to be involved in this, it was kind of like, oh.
So I wonder if they had someone in mind that maybe he would manage against Rocky and like try and take him down. But he ends up, maybe it's just a concerted effort to like have him focus more on the back end because, I mean, he's been on TV for like almost 4 straight years.
Yeah.
I mean, consistently, like dominating TV since he debuted with Yoko's, being Yokozuna's mouthpiece in the summer of '93. Like he's not taking any time off, and he's been a top guy the entire time. So
yeah,
maybe they just figured he was kind of, needs a break or whatever. But
I'm fine with it. It was just very surprising. Match was fine. It wasn't what it was. Rocky's finisher is always weird, like the shoulder breaker thing. It was like I should have figured something out in Memphis.
Just let him do the DDT. He does that float over DDT. Just do that.
That actually looked pretty good. I mean, the shoulder breaker, he never works on the arm, and then he just hits it, and that's it.
All right, we're back to the Alamo Dome. George and Adam are walking the tunnels, and they end up in the bathroom. So still perusing through there. Vince McMahon's in the ring. He brings out Sid to a big pop. Ross hypes up the Rumble. He lists the tough questions he would have asked Sid if he was doing the interview. But it's Vince, who talks about Sid's recent dominance. He talks about Austin, Michaels, Bret Hart, and The Undertaker. Says they all have attitude, but that could be playing right into Sid's hands. Sid's music is playing through the whole promo, and the lights stay down, which is kind of a cool vibe. And I think they're trying to do, we talked about this a little bit, like going full Paul Heyman ECW style with Sid, where they're really trying to mask, I think, a lot of his deficiencies. So by having the ominous music and the lights dimmed, it kind of adds like that psychotic vibe. Sid brags about beating Michaels and Hart. In the end, it was only his power, because when he walks, the ground shakes, and he's a superior predator. When we see Shawn walks backstage, he doesn't look impressed. Sid wraps up, and that's that. So again, for Sid, it's all presence and confidence. There's no substance. He says the same shit, but he looks the part. And I like that they're putting a little bit of bells and whistles with him to try and make it not as obvious.
Yeah, the only issue I have with this feud is, I mean, Sid brings up a good point of him beating Shawn and Bret, and it's like, that's true. And I mean, I guess you can always use the like rematch clause, but then the way Shawn like nonchalantly, acts annoyed at what Sid's saying, it's like, it still feels like, it's like, which was it? Like, are you gonna build him up that he beat these two dudes, or Shawn still acts like the only reason he lost is he was worried about Jose or whatever? So it's just not. I don't know. It's not a feud I'm digging. I thought Sid's promo himself's fine, but that's kind of Sid in a nutshell. Like, if he's not totally saying something off the rocker, it's not gonna be extraordinary.
All right, we get an ad for Shotgun Saturday Night. We go back to the ring for debut of Pierrot and Cibernetico taking on the New Rockers. Our friends from AAA making their official debut. Vince says they're two of the best from Mexico. Ross fills us in on their background. Marty's back in action. We saw him go down at the Survivor Series. Mm-hmm. I thought he was done at Survivor Series. I didn't realize he came back. This might be it, though, I'm guessing. Rockers, their opponents. Mil Mascaras joins the Spanish announce team. We hear from him a little bit as we get going. Leaf and Pierrot get us going with a quick back and forth. Do a Pierrot flurry, tags Cibernetico, overwhelms Leaf tagging, but he controls Marty as well. Ross gives the info on Lucha masks as Cibernetico cranks on Marty's head. Marty baits him into being distracted, and Leaf hits him from behind. Ross and Vince says neither team is popular in their own worlds, and Vince says Pierrot and Cibernetico aren't the high-flying type. And Ross says it's the stereotype that all Spanish wrestlers are high flyers. Already setting expectations. Rocker said, it's not what you think you're seeing on Nitro. You're not going to get that. Right. Yeah. And these guys flying around.
Right.
Rockers quick tag. They beat on Cibernetico through a break. We come back. He gets 2 on a sunset flip. Cibernetico comes back and takes Leaf down. Both men tag. Pierrot smacks Marty with chops and slams him with a powerbomb for 2. Ross says Pierrot and Cibernetico and Mascaras will all be in the Royal Rumble. Cibernetico hits a tope on Leaf. Pierrot slams Marty, hits a big splash for the win. This was not impressive at all. It feels like the WWF immediately out of the gate has like the lamer lucha stars. Like it's I mean, they're fine, I'm sure, but it didn't present that way. Pierroth looked like he was going half speed. He's not getting to show off much. The Rockers look washed. They didn't really move around guys. Like, this is where you could have used a guy like a Candido. He's gone. A Hakushi, he's gone. Like, that could have maybe like hung and made these guys look better. But the Rockers, I think that's what they were hoping to do. But it just felt like a little half speed. So I went 2.5. If you're watching this, and you're thinking like, all right, WF is going to have their own cruisers now, and you go watch like Ray and Malenko or Psychosis and these guys on Nitro, and you come here, and it's like just more of the same.
Yeah, I only went 2. It was okay. But I mean, I knew I've watched these guys. I knew what to expect. I did think Pierroth's chops looked good. That one sequence where he was continuously chopping. I think it was Leaf, but he kept chopping him down, pulling him up, chopping him down. That was fine. But yeah, I mean, the Triple R guys, they were brawling. There was a lot of garbage. It's just a different style at this point. Once Ray and Psychosis kind of left pretty much for good in 95. Like 95, they did have a lot of that high flying between those guys. Even like Heavy Metal, Jerry Estrada, but he can mix it up in brawls too. But yeah, I mean, these are more like your beefy brawler Rudos. So they work accordingly. They did face Furnace and LaFon on Superstars.
Yeah, where's that? Give me that.
So that might be interesting. I actually want to track that down. But as far as the debut, it was okay. I did think Ross was good on commentary. Like this was better Ross tonight because he gave good background.
Oh, it was much better. He's definitely kind of fading off of the only time he really gets saucy was with the saying he should have done the interview instead of Vince or whatever. But besides that, he's been pretty straight.
And I mean, I'm sure this probably was the first time Vince had set eyes on either of these guys. So
even 1, 2, 3 Kid, like all the guys that could have maybe done something with these dudes are gone. So yeah, Furnace and LaFon, I get why they didn't put that on Raw, maybe because they're trying to keep them protected. Maybe Owen and Bulldog could have done something with these guys, but then they're not going to win. So I don't know. I'm trying to think of who else like they even had that could have done anything. I guess Rockers are probably the best shot.
Well, so. I don't know. I think they actually would match up better with a brawler type. So
yeah, maybe
new Blackjacks or whatever. I mean, I don't know, but yeah, you just got to put them in with. It's a different style. I mean, they're not they're more bulky. So.
Yeah,
I mean,
the guys maybe could have bumped around and flown around for them. You know what I mean? Like might have looked like the Rockers is kind of weird because Marty, you could just tell like it's not happening right now with him. like whatever it is, he's busted up. And I think Snow like wants to break out, but he's kind of saddled with this shit right now. Like I think he's a guy that is probably waiting for like a solo push, and just kind of feels stuck with Jannetty still. All right, Ross talks to Mascaris about the Rumble. Mill says his experience and how great shape he's in, and talks about his love for San Antonio. Vince says another award-winning interview from JR.
Let me see how old Mill.
He's gonna be in his 50s, right?
Probably in his 50s, man. Let me see.
I'm gonna say 57.
Yeah, he was born in 1942, so he was 55.
Oh, close. That Vince line was funny though. I thought it was a good dig at JR.
Yeah.
All right, we get a Royal Rumble match entrant rundown. So declared so far: Hunter S. Helmsley, Flash Funk, British Bulldog, Ahmed Johnson, and The Undertaker. So we already know that we're going to have double duty on this Rumble card here. Did we have that 96? I don't think we did. 95. I don't think we did either. 94, we just had like Tatanka and Bigelow. So this feels like the first. Yeah, Brett. I know. And so yes, 94 and now in this kind of the first big ones outside like Piper 92 or whatever. But this seems like the first one they're really coming out and saying like a bunch of guys are doing double duty. All right, Honky Tonk Man's back on the scene. He heads to ringside, and Vince says Honky was on Superstars, said he had a big announcement, but we don't know what that announcement is. Honky takes a seat at the announce table. He talks his usual shit. Sets up our main event, which is Bret the Hitman Hart taking on Razor Ramon, a big rematch from King of the Ring 1993 and Royal Rumble 93. Yeah, Razor's strutting around after around the ring after a break. He's ready for the action. Honky's chopping it up about being back in the WWF. Bret's out to a pop. Ross hypes up this week's show at Rosemont in Chicago on Thursday. Vince says that WrestleMania tickets will go on sale that day as well. It's so funny. It's such a different world. Like now, like the Mania ticket sales is like this huge deal and everything. And this is just like a throwaway line by Vince on Raw.
You know, I think that was actually like a secret shots fired because on Nitro they talk about the United Center Nitro on January and how many tickets are still there. And so they may have known like the advance was really good for that. So it was like, all right, let's get these on sale. Let's see what we can do at Rosemont.
Try and take advantage.
Yep.
Honky says he's there to do the things he used to do, play guitar. But I guess my point is, it's crazy that Mania tickets is December.
Oh yeah, I mean, nobody was planning nobody was reserving a hotel.
Kyle Forchetti was. Then he traveled in.
Did he for 13?
I think it was one of the ones he did, like the travel club or whatever. They had that then. All right, Honky said he's there to do the things he used to do: play the guitar, sing, dance, and find the new greatest. Bret and Razor feel each other out. Honky's going on about his goals. Bret works the arm as Honky says Bret will go home a loser at the Rumble. He's not going to make Honky's cut. Razor hammers Bret down, works him over. Honky says Razor's too greasy. Bret comes slugging back. Vince talks about how aggressive Bret's been since coming back. Razor goes to the eyes. He clubs down Bret, slowly works him over with strikes and chokes. We get some talk about Austin. JR talks his great Superstars commentary and asks if he's getting a Christmas bonus, and Vince just laughs at him. Honky predicts Sid will win as we drag along. Very low energy. Bret takes over on the floor. He picks up the pace, shooting Razor to the railing and the stairs, beating him into the aisle. As they all talk about how uncontrollable Bret is. After a break, Bret hits a bulldog, gets into his closing offense, and finishes with a sharpshooter. Very sleepy match on a very sleepy Raw. Just filling time. 2 stars for a Bret Hart match for me. And low key, like outside of Survivor Series, Bret has not brought much to the table since his return. Like, you always think of that early 96 stretch where we were down on him a little bit, where it felt like he was checked out.
Yep.
Maybe it's rust. Maybe it's him feeling uneasy with the Shawn stuff. Maybe he's just not back in the mode yet, but we haven't seen it. I'm curious when it kicks back in.
Yeah, we talked about that. I think that's an underrated thing. Like people know he was gone for a while in '96, but and Survivor Series is like an all timer, so it almost excuses it. And I guess your mileage may vary on the Iron Man, but I'd say besides those 2 performances, and again, like some people hate the Iron Man, but I mean, I just don't know what you can hang your hat on. And like even this on what could be a broomstick match, I mean, like Bogner was no good. So he sucks. But
he had one good match on Raw. It was when, remember, Shawn fought Hunter. Who did Bret fight? It was like in the build up to 12. I thought it was like a match we liked in there, but was it Kid?
Maybe.
No, I don't know if it was Kid. It was someone, but otherwise, there's not been much. I mean, his pay-per-views besides Austin have all stunk.
Yeah, it's just weird because like 5 years ago when we started the podcast, like you think about his late 95, like I mean, he was having those very good matches with Lafitte. Lafitte, Jean-Pierre Lafitte. I was trying to say Carl Lafitte.
He fought Tatanka, that stunk. But he fought Helmsley. We both went 2.5. So I mean, that's what I was thinking of.
But that's not.
No.
I wouldn't say that's actually great. Like you would.
I mean, we were down on him and Diesel.
Had a good match. I would think you'd hope he'd have a good match with Helmsley. Like that's your opportunity.
Right. We were down on him and Diesel. Him and Taker had a stinker on Raw.
Yeah, I mean he's somebody even
him and Goldust we didn't like.
Yeah.
Him and Taker at the Rumble we weren't high on.
No.
Yeah, I mean I'm back to the beginning of the year now, and nothing jumps out.
It's Mania. I mean it's one of those like sneaky, possibly could be the worst year of his career that we have on tape.
I think so. Maybe until his end run, but even then he probably the WCW stuff. But even like 99
has more. Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. It sucks, but it's I think everyone thinks of the Austin match. He comes back red hot, but I don't know if he heats up until after the Rumble.
Well, it's just weird that like he has this year that's so bad, and like I said, between his late 95 with the classics with Diesel, Bulldog, Lafoot, Lafitte, and
Escalade.
yeah, and but his late 95 run, and then obviously like 97. Like 97, he's a contender for worldwide wrestler of the year. And like in 96, I don't think he makes my top 100. I mean, it's one and a half matches. I don't think that solely can make it.
Right. All right,
A match
Vince.
itself, I don't know if I said I want a star in 3/4. It was no good.
Vince talks to Sean backstage. Sean's dismissive of the questions about Bret and Sid. He just kind of trolls Vince. Seems a little annoyed. So that's that.
It's nothing. I mean, they're still setting the seeds for Sean versus Bret, but we're 3 months out. So what can you do?
Let's do our awards. Best match, I went Mero and Helmsley.
Yeah.
Moment, I went Helmsley's promo.
I don't even let me even recall what I had. I may have just defaulted to Sid's promo. I did Sid's promo.
I gave Helmsley the MVP. Beat Mero clean, called out Goldust.
Me too, which is really weak.
Shots fired. Just had Ross saying a lot of people in Georgia have the lack of ethics.
Yeah.
Debuts, we had Honky, and the final grade. Probably one of the worst Raw grades they've given in a while. I went 3.5 out of 10. It was sleepy. It was boring.
Yep.
Nothing really clicked, and it's a classic Triple H that he gets MVP on one of the worst Raws of the year. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, 4. I don't know. I mean, it wasn't good. It's just like listen to what we described in this show, and then when we talk about the first hour Nitro, just think like that was what this was up against.
The last one I had this low was September 9th. I had one at 4 in early December, but
what did you rank that 12-2 Raw?
I have that as a 4 out of 10.
Okay, yeah. That was bad too.
Yeah.
Not been a great December for WWF.
A long December, as the Counting Crows would say.
Yeah.
Not
I mean,
great.
even the post, we'd kind of held our hat on the post pay-per-view Raws, and I mean, this one was okay, but nothing crazy.
We'll see. Hopefully 97 will turn things around, but
yeah.
All right. Listen, check out everything we have to offer here on the North South Connection. We have a lot of cool content, like not just our normal podcast. We're doing a lot of short content as well on video. Ryan Gray's hyping up the WWE draft. He did a mock draft special, and he'll be doing a live draft special, which I think will air right before this. It's going to be Sunday night. So, yeah. There you go.
There you go.
No, actually, that's going to air before this.
Yeah, week after, right?
Yeah, or a week. Let me get the actual date on that. It's Sunday the 23rd. So yeah. Anyway, go back and watch it. This is really good. He did a live draft special where they pretty much, him and the team that joined them went on and did a their own draft as if they were Raw and SmackDown. They drafted the full roster. So that's a good listen. But he's doing a lot of current stuff. Clothesline Headlines has kind of become a floating show. So whenever news breaks, he hops on and talks about it, does recaps and stuff. So if you're looking for current day dirty stuff, we got it there in video format on this channel. All right. You want to hop over to Nitro?
Nitro. Hogan's in the opening, of course.
Naturally.
They go in to the arena. Pyro comes off. There's zero mention where they're at. A lot of embarrassment on where they're at for this Nitro. Tony does say the arena is packed. They're in Macon, Georgia tonight.
You think they'd call that out? I mean, that's it's home state.
Yeah, it's a small. Yeah, I don't know. We talked about it. I mean, this is where Hall debuted.
But if you're outside Georgia, I couldn't tell you how big fucking Macon was. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. Like,
yeah, but do you think like Macon's recognizable? I don't.
As a wrestling fan, yes, for sure. Like, I know Macon, Georgia from wrestling. So,
right.
As a wrestling viewer, I would know, oh, Macon. And I'd actually probably think highly of it, thinking like a lot of stuff has happened in Macon in WCW history. Like, it's a weird one to be kind of embarrassed about.
Yeah. I mean, they make no mention of it, but there you go. Pretty much start us off right with our opening contest, which is a semifinal match in the U.S. title tournament. It's a familiar matchup, so we had a familiar match to start out on Raw, and we get a familiar match to start out on Nitro. You can be the judge on which one's more exciting, but it's Eddie Guerrero with Chris versus Chris Benoit. Benoit's back from Germany, so first time we've seen him in 5 weeks in ring, like live.
He's out solo too.
Yeah, he comes out alone. A lot of strikes to start. Taskmaster does his insert promo. Uh, he talked about how bad this angle's been. I actually thought this was probably the best we've seen of the Taskmaster stuff, where he seems more sinister and devious here. Basically says he's awoken something inside of him. Benoit fell into the trap, but it was creepy, I think, in the right way. I give the weird ankle a little bit of a reprieve this week.
The weird thing too is when they do the entrances, like Benoit comes out. Eddie is like on his ass. He's down the aisle before Benoit's even in the ring.
Timing was off.
Yeah, it was weird. I don't know if they were trying to rush to like start the show off quick. It was odd. Like he's like out. Benoit's not even in the ring, and Eddie's halfway down the aisle.
Yeah, I mean Eddie's like 8 steps behind Benoit, and then they start his music where he's like almost entering the ring. Reverse more holds. Paige comes out for commentary with a Three Stooges shirt on, which was interesting. All right. Eddie works a headlock as we head to break. Back from break, Benoit gets a nasty back body drop. Paige mentions he has a female personal trainer, and of course Larry is like absolutely shocked and appalled at that a female could help a man, personally train. Can't have that. Paige, I thought was very good on commentary. This was kind of like a callback to his old championship wrestling from Florida days that I'm watching in 1989. Some of his WCW old school stuff, his Good God era. So this was kind of cool callback to that. He calls Tony Schiavone Poindexter at one point, which I enjoyed. He talks about the history between these two, though. Nasty powerbomb by Benoit. Larry says that Benoit told woman to go home and do the dishes and do the laundry. So a lot of misogyny from Larry tonight.
Always.
Tip the world backbreaker by Eddie. He calls for the frog splash, but Benoit catches him and hits the superplex. Crowd's really up for this as we head to the final stretch. Small package gets a nice near fall for Eddie. Some more strikes between the two. Benoit does the pin with some rope assistance that get caught by Randy Anderson, and then they both go back to the top. Eddie shoves Benoit off. I actually like this finish where the referee's kind of pleading with Benoit to not perform a move in the ropes. Benoit kind of gives Randy Anderson a shove that allows Eddie to shove Benoit. And then he does like a reverse frog splash kind of where he has his back to Benoit initially and turns around midair and does the frog splash to get the win, which they call an upset. A really, really, really good TV match. Went 3 3/4. Probably one of the best TV matches we've watched since we've started the show in 99 episodes. Like, this is up there. So really, really good stuff to start Nitro.
Yeah, it was really good. I was lower for some reason. I went 3 1/4, but I liked it a lot. It was a usual intense war, that snap and energy and anger. Great way to open the show. Sets up the U.S. title final. We're going to reignite the Guerrero DDP feud, which makes sense. DDP and Larry burying women together seemed like a match made in heaven for the two of them. I mean, look, you can watch Raw and see how that started, and then watch how this starts. It's just like only WCW can kind of roll this out, out of nowhere and just deliver this like on a whim. Whereas on Raw, it struggles to maybe even someday sniff this. And I lied. I went 3 3/4. I had that much. I thought that seemed low. I wrote it down on my notes wrong.
No.
I looked at my sheet and I had 3 3/4. Anyway, it's a great match. It's a classic. Hidden gem for sure for both of us since we're both 3 3/4. Yeah.
Sure. So then we get an interview with the Four Horsemen. Gene welcomes them out. Benoit's with them, but it's the whole crew. So Flair, Arn minus woman. So Flair, Arn, Deborah, Mongo. Arn's focused says a focused Chris Benoit would have never lost that match right there. Then he talks about people deserving. He does this like weird analogy where he talks about like a man that has nothing to lose is the most feared man, but then when somebody's beating you up and you know you deserve it, that's a that's a terrible situation to be in or whatever. And he says he took the beating from Kevin Sullivan last week because he's a horseman. They took an oath, but you know that now that he did that, he needs basically Benoit and Woman to be all in. So Arn asks, like, where is she this week? That allows Deborah to grab the microphone.
She loves it.
Boy, she has heat too. Like she is really booed. She says people only want to hear and look at her. And she tells Chris that she has so many beautiful pageant girlfriends that would love to go out with him, but of course they're not as good looking as her because she did win the pageant, but they're still very beautiful.
And she says Benoit doesn't deserve damaged goods.
Doesn't deserve damaged goods. Benoit says Woman is tending to horseman business. Now this seemed like a stretch where he says in Germany they were doing 18 hours on meetings.
Horseman meetings.
Basically like brand man. I mean, what was this? Like for 18 hours? Like
they devised a plan to reunite the horsemen to raise them up. This is what they're in.
It was
intense meetings to how we're gonna rebuild the brand.
That one seemed like a stretch. So Flair kind of gets in between both of them, tries to become the peacemaker here. He says after being with the devil for 10 years, implying Kevin Sullivan, Woman deserves a break. And he tries to diffuse everything by basically saying they're going to go get drunk and have a party. And that's kind of how the promo ends. So it's still showing a good bit of dissension here. I actually don't know where this leads. I mean, it's kind of entertaining. I mean, because like also I forgot to mention Mongo. He gets all fired up because Benoit like talked back to Deborah. He's like, whoa.
And then Benoit told him talk to the hand. Yeah, like I mean, Chris Benoit said talk to the hand.
that was your most 90s.
You better shut your mouth, baby. That's my woman. Yeah, that's. I mean, I don't know. It's like the Horsemen seem kind of lost. It's like Arn's trying to be serious. Benoit's kind of being weirdly jokey a bit. Mongo is like in his own little dramatic world with Deborah. Flair's like oblivious to everything going on. He's just like, yeah, we're gonna go party.
Yeah.
Where's Jarrett? Like, what happened to that?
Yeah, he's out.
It's like they seem like they're all disjointed. Like this should be the time the Horsemen are together feuding with the NWO. Like could have been really cool, but instead we're kind of doing this weird infighting stuff. I don't know. It's I mean, Arn and Flair are so good, and Deborah's been pretty good that it's okay, but it's just like, all right, I'm just ready for it to be.
Yeah, it's always entertaining, just because of the personalities. Like even Mongo getting all like fired up and trying to be chivalrous for Deborah's. It's fun to see, but once you start analyzing it, it kind of falls apart a little bit from a
talk to the hand.
I mean, that was very 90s. So
Benoit, he doesn't say shit like that.
Hey man,
shut your mouth or whatever.
He was in Germany on 18 hours of horseman business. He had to let loose.
You had to listen to some Schlumpin' Joe over in Germany.
Flair is just like wanting to party and get drunk is probably on cue. So.
So Benoit listened to too many Smurfs.
Is that German?
Smurfs in German.
All right. So that was all that. Then as we come back from break, Hogan's out. So boy, they stacked it up. Big match to start out, and Hogan's out like the 15-20 minute mark. He's out with his crew.
Team 88, baby. Yep. Hogan, DiBiase, Vince, and Liz. like right out of WrestleMania 4, this fucking marching down here.
I love it. Yo, dudes, it's time for Hollywood, guys. Hogan looks cut. Absolutely cut. He says Piper's hiding. He thought Piper might be the last of the men's men. And then he goes, "Yo, Roddy." So I enjoy it. Piper's afraid of Hollywood. He's getting good heat for all this. He gets a kiss on the cheek from Liz. Says 100 years from this is actually pretty poignant, I thought, where he says 100 years from now, when the kids look at Abe Lincoln and George Washington when they talk about wrrestling, they will see Hulk Hogan. I was
And
like,
not
oh,
Piper.
yeah, not Piper. Which I was like, oh, okay. I mean, that's kind of maybe true. He took over the Turner Empire, founded the NWO, scared the skirt off of Piper. He feigns kind of acting scared at Piper coming out, and Tony is appalled and pissed at all this, saying Piper isn't scheduled to be here. Hogan knows that. And then Hogan kind of brings up the past people. So he brings up Macho Man, he brings up Flair, and then he brings up Piper and says they all can't measure up. So I thought this was a strong kind of go home heel promo here for Hogan. Then kind of hit his mark, got in, got out, good stuff, and was getting a lot of boos and looked very cocky and confident with, in his mind, thinking that, Piper wasn't going to be there. So he was very gloaty tonight.
Yeah, he said too, he was talking to the head of WB. So I think Warner Brothers. It was good. I liked it. I mean, it felt a little rambly at times, but that's Hogan. I don't know. I think you could maybe say we're like 1 week too long to hype this match at this point. Like, this felt like it's a good promo, but probably redundant and one we didn't need. It felt like maybe we really peaked at that last episode, and we'll see if this can carry that heat into Starrcade, or if we're just going to kind of rinse repeat just to kill the week.
Yeah. I was a big fan of this. This is one of my favorites, actually.
All right.
Nothing. So we get the WCW Saturday Night ad. There's nothing with it. It's just that year in review. Yeah. So that's that. Now we get a debut. Old friend for you, Tombstone.
Yep. Yes.
Versus Lex Luger. Tombstone is 911.
Sure is.
Not well, I mean, ECW wasn't in Macon, I don't believe, at this time. It wasn't in Atlanta, I don't think, unless
Macon was somewhere they kind of ran, though. I feel like it's maybe it's later. Yeah, and probably later. This seems late for Tombstone to come in, though, because when did he leave?
Oh, God.
He left ECW a lot earlier. He was gone in like 95 or whatever. I know he comes back for a minute and Taz jobs him out. I don't remember if that's after or before this when he shows up and Taz chokes him out for that one night, but
let me see. Well, he's got a pretty easy cage match to decipher. Only 102 matches, period, for 911 and old Tombstone. Showing his last ECW match was House Party, which was January 5th. So, yeah.
But even before that, was he around regularly? I thought he was already gone. Because I know he comes back for like one thing. Taz.
No. Looks like he was regularly there. I mean, like
maybe it's after this. Maybe he comes back after this run. Maybe it was like because we're into 98 on Three-Way Dance, so it might have been 97 where he shows back up for a minute.
Spike Dudley beats him in 98. Oh, let me just type in Taz. That shouldn't be too.
I thought Taz beat him when Taz was marching through guys, like when he beat Paul Vollins.
Now. Nothing with Taz unless cage match is off. I mean, he's in some stuff, but nothing one-on-one.
I thought Taz beat him. I thought he came back and someone beat him. Maybe not. I don't know.
Okay. It could have been a run-in or whatever either.
Yeah.
He has this, I mean, looking at this run, it is like insane. So a crazy, like, like he has this match on Nitro. He does a WCW Saturday Night taping like almost a couple weeks after this versus Ice Train, and then nothing until until April when he randomly comes in. He has one more. And this is an infamous one. I remember this. So he has one more Nitro match. It's when they're in Philly in April, and he gets completely jobbed out by the Giant in a minute, which is so such a crapping on him.
He might have got hurt or something. I remember this being like kind of a big thing when they signed him and like they gave him like decent money or whatever, and they kind of bought a bill of goods, that he was like because Paul booked him so strong and made him look so good, but he wasn't really anything special.
He's so like one note though.
Yeah, that's
You
all he
know what I
was.
mean? Yeah. Anyway, he's facing Luger. So this is a trope they went with Luger before,
Yeah.
where he faces all the big guys before he faces the Giant. So good reaction for Luger. Shoulder block by Luger has no effect. He clotheslines Tombstone on the floor. Tombstone rakes the eyes to take over. Larry's crapping on Sting, saying, "What a rotten Christmas gift he's given to the little Stinger." So, I don't know why Sting's very concerned about that, but whatever. Tony does put over Tombstone, saying he's showing his power and being fearless. Right at that exact moment, Tombstone runs into a big boot from Luger, and Luger starts his comeback, flying forearm, torture rack. That does it. So this essentially was a extended squash. I went a star and a half on it. Um, and then I guess we can talk about the post match, which was pretty fun. So the Giant comes in right after the match. He shoves Luger in. Luger ducks him, tries to knock the Giant down. Giant does a good job kind of teetering, and then he ends up like collapsing onto the turnbuckle. So, it's like, oh, he would have fell down, but like he got saved by the ropes. Luger then goes for the rack and gets it on for a second until the Outsiders come and make the save, which makes Luger bail. A real fun post match. I like the Outsiders coming to have the Giants back. I thought that was cool because you would have thought it might have been the B squad, but it was nice to see them have the Giants back and pretty for Luger versus Giants, something we've seen before. This felt pretty hot, so I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in line with everything you said. I want a star and a half, just another squash. I thought Luger got a huge pop when he came out. He just looks great through all this. Tombstones, whatever, not that great, but just Lex being able to rack him is all we need to see. We don't need much else, and that looked really cool. So I was okay with that. The post match I thought was awesome. The pops when Luger's laying into him with the punches were great. I think this match has been overlooked in the build to Starrcade. Like we talk about all this time we've had, this one we haven't seen much of it at all. And I think this is an awesome way to add some last minute heat into it. Luger is just way over. The crowd was all into this. They really stumbled into him as almost being their top face right now. I mean, Piper's hot too, but that's pretty much what they got is Piper and Luger right now. It's like their top faces, and Lex is feeling it. This is a great segment. Like I'm excited for Luger Giant.
Yep. Come back from break, they show like Sting and the fake Sting stuff from last week. And then they show him like actually kind of attacking Rey Mysterio, and Rey Mysterio jumped on his back.
Mm-hmm.
And that leads into our next match, which is Rey Mysterio versus Mr. JL. I hadn't seen JL besides World War III on Nitro in a couple months. Oddly enough, versus the NWO Sting.
He must almost be kind of done, right? Because I feel like he pops up and maybe it's later in '97 when the ECW shows up. I know he's pretty regular into '98.
Okay. Oh God, why did they like trotted him out? So he has 2 more Nitro matches, it looks like, and then he's done. But one's in January, one's in March. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it's late summer or fall. He's in ECW. So.
Yeah. So I mean that's like a pretty cool match on paper too. So some good chain wrestling to start. Tony and Larry continue to talk about how absurd Hogan and the NWO was. Tony says that Luger might be the leader for WCW that they need. Tilt-a-whirl Rana by Ray. He flips over the ropes but gets drop kicked to the outside. Mr. JL wipes out on a plancha attempt. Tony calls Starrcade the greatest card ever assembled for a wrestling pay-per-view. So it's the greatest night in the history of our sport. I don't think we've heard that yet.
No, we haven't had the super hyperbole just yet.
Yeah,
it's coming.
Which I mean, all right. I'll give him a pass on this one. We'll have to see if that is as absurd as people make it out. We'll see.
I mean, it is a pretty impressive card. I mean, Hogan Piper is a big dream match. Luger Giant.
Yeah,
Guerrero,
I mean, I don't
outsiders.
I don't find that preposterous for this card. Like that, like the Knox always like that he was calling like random thunders in '98.
Right.
Yeah, so we'll see if we get to that point, but this was fine. Springboard leg drop from Ray with JL hung in the ropes. So Rana gets reversed into a power bomb by JL. Springboard moonsault by Ray, but JL comes back with a quick back suplex. Tony says an NWO members will be wrestling on the show tonight because Eric Bischoff demands it. A nice La Magistral cradle for 2 for Mr. JL. And then JL goes on top and gets caught by Ray for the Rana for the win. So this went about 6 minutes. Was a good back and forth match. But I may be lower than some people that watch this. I went 2 3/4, so I liked the match, but I actually thought that like it was a little too even. Which is a critique I have. I understand like with the size of Ray that it kind of plays to that, but it's like if he's such a dynamic high flyer, I think this would be a good showcase for, JL gets a little bit of offense and then Ray takes over and hits like a flurry of moves and takes it home. This felt a little too much back and forth for my liking, especially what we've seen from JL before, and just like stuff like Ray hits that springboard moonsault. It looks great. And then like 10 seconds later, JL's back on offense. So that's a minor critique I have. It actually prevented me from saying like this is a quote unquote good match at 3 stars, but I mean, the actual action itself was entertaining and spot on. So 2 3/4.
I didn't mind it because I think they're trying to establish that Ray can take a beating from a bigger guy and still come back and persevere, and has the ability to come back at these types of matches. I mean, Lynn's JL's offense is a lot of bigger man based, right? Like he's definitely more of a base than he usually is with flying around. I mean, Larry even goes to we'll see if Ray's around in 10 years with this style kind of talking points, but. I liked the finish too. I thought it was a hot match. Again, JL definitely got a lot of offense, but Ray's speed is just like insane. I mean, he just goes around like a maniac. With the acceleration is crazy. I went 3 1/4. Like I like this a lot, quite a bit. I didn't mind JL getting the offense because, I know he hasn't been on a ton, but like he's a guy that when he's on, it's not like he gets squashed usually. I feel like he usually gets stuff in. So I don't think it's like, Cobra getting over on Ray or anything. Like I think JL like is a guy that's presented as someone that could hang with the Ray.
Okay. Now I did like this actually. So Ray goes to the announce booth. We hadn't really seen this. So Ray goes to the announce booth. And he kind of takes up for Sting. He says Sting's not joining the NWO. It's a rumor started by the NWO. Last week he jumped on Sting's back and his reaction was normal. If somebody jumps on your back, you're going to react that way. He said that's a lot different from when Nash like hurled him to the trailer or Giant choke slammed him out in the World War III Battle Royal. I thought that was great. Like he showed 2 examples of stuff that happened that were like vindictive and, like vicious. And good. This is where Tony's good. Like great callback from Tony because like Ray just says like, "Oh, when Giant choke slammed me down," and like Tony immediately is like, "Yep, at World War III." So like Tony like knew right when that happened. Like that was good recollect from Tony and helping progress. He says, "Sting, if you're listening, I know you aren't going to betray us like Hogan did. Sting wasn't trying to hurt him. He is WCW." And then Larry, who was driving me nuts tonight, Larry says, "The dreams of youth are nightmares when someone gets older." It's like, well, thank you, grandfather Larry. Sting turned his back on everybody. Now this I didn't. This was the only caveat on this little thing. Like all that was great with Ray. The only thing was he asked to show the video of like him jumping on Sting's back to like show that it wasn't vindictive or whatever, and they end up showing like the Sting music video we got last week that shows nothing of that.
That clip was in there, but it was just like it was part of a video versus just like the highlights of that match. But him throwing him was in that music.
So it's like why splice that?
Yeah. Okay, it was weird. But the Ray stuff was really well done. Like you said, Tony definitely added to it. And I think it makes sense. Like Ray's acting and thinking logically. He's like, don't read too much into this. He didn't attack me. He just got me off of him and kind of moved on. He didn't whack me with the bat or throw me out of the ring or anything. He just got me off his back,
So that ends hour 1. So again, Raw. What we got?
Look at Nitro. I mean, 2 great matches. The Hogan promo,
great junior promo. Match, a high flying match, Hogan promo, Luger squash with a cool post match
stuff. Which even if we kind of our issues with it, it's still probably better than anything on Raw. The
I
Horseman
mean,
promo.
even the Horsemen, what they're doing
Yeah.
is more entertaining than like annoying Sean
Right.
backstage.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that 1 hour alone definitely crushes it.
Oh, kill it! And you could tell like they were stacking it. Like they stacked this first hour to say like, man. I mean, but it was a cool stack. Like it wasn't like we're gonna bring out and just dominate.
Right.
It was just like we're going to present good matches, and we're going to give you like 20 seconds of the outsiders. So like they're in, real easy night for them. Actually, what ends up happening, but they're there. Hogan's promo was one segment, so just one segment, in and out. It's good stuff. Giant runs out and he's gone, so everybody's there, but it's not oversaturated. So hour number 2 starts out with an announcement that they have given word to Tony that the NWO has given word to Tony that Roddy Piper is indeed in the building. So they let us know that. That's your hook for hour number 2. He turns to Bobby and asks Bobby what he thinks of that. He says Hogan's a liar. He's told everyone that for years. The NWO stands for propaganda. And that's that. And Tenay kind of backs him up and
They
says,
basically say, "Don't believe it. No, he's not here. It's all NWO bullshit."
right. So we start out hour number 2 with a match that God only knows how many times happened in the WCW power plant in front of nobody. Glacier versus Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker. A lot of Glacier background from Tenay. We learned the mask, 200 years old, and just a bunch of
families, a bunch of police officers, and all that
state patrolmen, and all this stuff.
And then Bobby makes a donut joke immediately about Glacier's dad.
What did he say? Like he's like got a 124 was the badge number, and Bobby's like, was that how many donuts? House down. Now, big question here for us on housekeeping duties. Do we consider this a debut for the old Sarge?
Wasn't he in the Battle Royal, one of them?
He was not, but the Leprechaun has had a match on Nitro.
Yeah, I think this is a debut. We haven't seen the character Buddy Lee Parker. So.
Okay. All right. So
let me see if I had him marked down. I did. I had him marked down as a debut.
I had that a question. So a little bit different aesthetic for Glacier's matches here, where the snow's still falling, but the lights are on. It's not pitch dark anymore. So we're changing some stuff a little bit. Parker attacks it first. Glacier. I mean, all right. The play-by-play for this match is essentially like Glacier does his whole martial arts routine. Right?
The crowd dies.
So I'll say this. Crowd does not care about any of this. I'm sure like I said, I'm sure they've done this match 200 times in the PowerPoint. It kind of looked rehearsed, right? But I did dig the amount of variety of kicks that Glacier showed, because he gives a enziguri and a right kick to Piper's head. It was a lot of the kicks were stiff. It gives a kick to the back of the head, a nice like running front kick, kind of. Oh God, I can't believe I'm even gonna say this to comparing Glacier, but Toshiaki Kawada style. I mean, so at the end of the
front
day,
leg back round kick, as Bischoff would say.
So he whiffs on the first cryonic kick, and Sargent actually kicks out of that. So I think that was kind of Buddy Lee like teaching the rook. You know what I mean? Like, hey,
well, Parker lasts longer than most guys have, and it took 2 cryonic kicks to finish him. So.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like him whiffing on the first cryonic kick, I think was that old mentality of like, hey, if you don't hit me flush, I'm not selling it, brother. Right. So that was like a training lesson in the ring for Sarge. And the second one, he wastes him with. Like he actually did that one pretty good. So I mean, I actually enjoyed this more than the crowd. I'm not saying it's some great match, but I thought this helped play in the variety of the show tonight. I mean, it's clear to see that whatever visions they had of Glacier, as I don't even really know what they thought the ceiling was going to be for him. It's odd to see because, like, it's tough to explain how much capital they put behind him.
I mean, maybe they just always planned for him to be in his own world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that might have been the plan from the start.
Yeah. So I mean, I went 2 stars. It's not like I gave this a great rating.
I went half a star.
Come on, a lot of kicks.
The crowd hated it. I mean, this
Crowd
glacier
hated
push is moving at a glacial pace. I mean, we're just like going nowhere since when did that first vignette? Was it April
April
29th, right?
29th. Yep.
I
It's
mean, here we are. He's still having squashes, and looking pedantic. So whatever. We'll see. We'll see when the world grows around him. I think it's soon in early '97. We get some stuff action. So
yeah, well, blood's about to run cold. So there we go. Outsider shirt shield.
2 for 20,
Yeah.
2 for 40, 1 for 20, 2 for
Yeah,
40.
1 for 22 for 40. Great deal. Next is another. So again, we had our junior match, our high fly match, our martial arts contest. Now we get our kind of garbage match. Amazing French Canadians versus Public Enemy. Public Enemy is a tag team we saw so much of, and we actually hadn't seen them as a tag team in a while. It was the October 7th Nitro.
Again, maybe he's banged up a little bit or something.
Yeah, well, Rocco Rock was out. Johnny Grunge did have that singles match in November, so Rocco was out on the show. So Jock requests everybody to stand for the national anthem. They end up they butcher the words on public. It's kind of on purpose. It's kind of funny. Tony makes fun of them for not knowing the words. Public Enemy charges and hits them with their flags. Oulette has a stocking. They put like one of their stocking caps over Oulette's eyes and double team him. He responds by sending Rocco Rock into the guardrail. Parker stomps on him on the outside. And basically this match didn't have any like legal tags throughout the match. I mean, it's only a 3-minute match, but it's just like a straight brawl, like mayhem and whatnot. So Jock does the Rougeau Thez press. Does that ever get a name? Like, that seems like such a cool double team move that you would think.
It wasn't like the Tower of Quebec or whatever?
Maybe. I'm so bad with, like, names. So when he did that, I was like, oh, that needs a name if it don't. But and then he does a Boston Crab, and Carl hits a nice leg drop, so that looked cool. The table comes in. It gets placed on the top rope in the corner, and they're going for, Oulette's assisted senton. But Rocco Rock comes back and like shoves Oulette off, accidentally breaks the table in the process.
Carl took a rough bump on that one. It hits like the edge of the table.
That was not supposed to happen. And then Public Enemy basically then just used the table blatantly to draw the DQ. And then the reason it wasn't going to happen because they wanted to show like the parallel with the assisted sentons, because then Rocco does it off of Grunge's, with Grunge's assist. They do that to Oulette where he's laying on the table on the mat. But they was going to put him through the table to do that. So a star and a quarter. I mean, this was what it was. This was like, to me, the only throwaway segment of the whole show, actually.
Had a couple little blips. It was kind of the usual business for the French Canadians. I mean, I'm as big a Quebecer fan as there is, but this run has not been very inspiring. Like they feel like kind of like a little like relics here. In a way, actually, I think we talked about this. I think they'd be a better fit back in the WWF as the Quebecers, where with their real empty on tag teams, maybe they could have a good brawl with Pierre Roth and Cibernetico and at least bring a little pizzazz. Here, they feel like they don't really fit in with the world that's being built in WCW. They're just a little too goofy. Parker's kind of a goof at this point. So this was disjointed and a little messy. I went a star and a half. I mean, it was fine, but again, to your point, it's a few minutes on a long show, so it's fine enough to throw away.
Oh boy, I really like this Nitro, but there was some definitely like Chad moments on this Nitro. So we show the Bubba turn. That leads us into Big Bubba versus Conan. Bubba has the NWO shirt on, says, "I love my new shirt." He comes out alone though.
Yeah,
like they probably could have waddled out DiBiase
or Vincent. Vincent at least.
Could have got him out there.
Bobby says he only joined to get the new shirt. He needed a new shirt.
Nice. Nick Patrick is back as our ref. This is the first time we've seen him since Jericho beat him up, and Tony mentions he's without his ski mask from WCW Saturday Night. Now, I'll say this. I'm guessing this match was booked by Jimmy Hart. agented whatever they did them. This was a Memphis studio match in 1996 WCW, and for that I commend them. There was some great Memphis tropes and stuff that I loved. I understand this isn't going to be a match for everyone, but for what it was, I enjoyed it. Again, I tried not to get carried away with my rating, but I was very entertained by this.
4
So
stars.
no, definitely not 4 stars, but I did enjoy this. So Bubba chases Hart, Conan does a tope, drop kick in the stairs, and Nick Patrick I actually really loved throughout this whole match. I'll say this. So he does a
He's
real
being so blatant. I mean, he hooks Conan at one point, like is over the top.
Yeah, I made a note almost there. So he does a slow count, allowing
Mm-hmm.
Bubba to get back in. That's when he hooks Conan doing the punches. Bubba also, like, this is the first time he's been a heel since
95.
I mean, like, he was in the Dungeon of Doom, but this is a different type of heel. Like, he was like the Bruiser. I mean, this is just like straight as blatant as he can. He does every illegal move. He rakes the eyes. He chokes with a Hulk Hogan bandana, which was a great touch. Nick Patrick at that point, when he's choking him with the bandana, like just turns around and starts berating Jimmy Hart on the floor, who was doing nothing. So, good right hand by Bubba and a stiff kick with him yelling at Conan to get up. Now this is where I hated Bobby Heenan
Yeah, this is all stupid.
as somebody that doesn't never worked Memphis and doesn't understand that. Like, Bobby sucked with this. Like, Bobby just needs to realize at this point he can jab with Lee Marshall and all this stuff. Anything with NWO, he's got to be WCW.
Yeah.
Like, you just got to be on the team. Like, you can be like, like, we
Well, yeah,
don't
because
like you,
they
but
all
don't mess
confirmed
with the family.
they're like, oh, we all are WCW, but Bobby says, well, things are negotiable, depending on money, and even Tony would join for the right money. So yeah, this is like it was unnecessary to even go there.
And like he keeps saying, like, well, we don't know for sure that was Nick Patrick in the ski mask, and it's so much, like, it is so bad. Then Tony brings up a great point where he says that Eric negotiated that contract deadline to coincide with Starrcade, so he could like beef up the reserves in case Hogan needed some extra help.
Right.
And that's cool because 30 minutes after this, when we get to the Hogan ending promo, keep in mind the first two people that run out to help Hulk Hogan in that ended segment. It's Wall Street and Bubba, the two people that signed on those contracts. So that's cool. All that we needed was buff the stuff to.
I'm surprised they didn't like give a WCW flavor. I mean NWO flavor to the commentary. Like I'm shocked that they didn't have DiBiase step in and do Nitro with like Tony and Bobby and tonight. Like I'm surprised they didn't do that. Like and just so we want to give our side of the thing. You know, we end up seeing that someday in the future with the Alliance, right? Like Heyman is in the booth to counter JR and speak on behalf of the Alliance. Like I'm surprised we don't have that on Nitro with DiBiase, so Bobby doesn't have to be the guy. But give it the butts, right? Like DiBiase or whoever do that.
He doesn't need, but he just doesn't need to do it on this, and it's only certain thing. Like he berates Hogan, which that works because he's always hated Hogan. But like, why all of a sudden is he like Mr. Referee? It's like this is stuff he would jab with Gorilla on primetime. I mean, I think the reason they didn't do that is they still thought there were still going to be Nitro, like NWO Nitro, so it's going to be so segmented. But it doesn't happen. So then Patrick throws out Hart and does like the most over the top Jim Joyce Angel and you're out of here, throws him out. It's great. It's just great. Like complete. That was so Memphis.
Jimmy says, I didn't even touch him.
Oh yeah, Jimmy's like, I can't believe it. I didn't do nothing. It's so good. This was so good. So Conan pounds on Bubba. And we get a quick count by Nick Patrick. Like with Bubba choking him, he'd be like 1, 2, and then with Conan, he was like 1, 2, 3, 4. And then Conan sends Bubba over the top rope, and immediately like Nick Patrick's like. and calls for the bell. Bobby's, of course, like he had to do his job. So it's just like, it's annoying. Conan goes to be down Nick Patrick. Bubba saves him. So, like I said, I mean, this is as Memphis as it can get, 2.5. So again, fair rating, but on Chad like entertainment scale, I loved it. So.
I think like Bobby was trying to do a little bit like Larry does, but Larry just sounds more cerebral and like his points are a little more sharp when it comes to like where to defend and how to defend them.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I just think with Bobby, like, I don't know how to say it. Like with Bobby, I don't think Bobby at this point grasps that like you get over the severity of how much of a threat NWO is if you're like on the side of WCW.
Right. Yeah.
Like he can talk about that. He can say like, I hate agreeing with you, Tony and Tenay, or I mean, like they can be antagonistic in the booth, like begrudgingly together, and that puts it over. Like it's just he picks and chooses. It's really this stuff and the Sting stuff. He's just so like off from where everything else is, and then the see ya is what it is. Like he's just decided that's his can line, which is annoying.
I'm curious if we're done with Bobby. Like I'm curious, this is it. Like I remember I liked him pre NWO, and I remember historically not liking him as much once the NWO started. He's been okay, but it's really started to wear. So I'm curious as we go through 97 if it's like starting to become like he's just completely out of touch.
He's the weakest announcer that we hear consistently right now.
And that's like, even Lawler in the mix.
Well, I mean, certainly on WCW side, WWO, I don't know. I mean, there's still problems there, but on WCW side, like I take Larry over him, and then like Tenay and Tony, obviously.
It almost feels like he could have gone back at this point. You know what I mean? Like he might have been better suited in that 96 world a little bit. Now as we go into attitude and stuff, I don't know, but like that 96 run, maybe he could have been, because Lawler does wrestle more, and the work that like Perfect ends up doing, like maybe that could have been Bobby. You know what I
mean? It's crazy how easy Lawler's night. I know they taped 2 Raws, but like Lawler's literally on Raw for like 1 minute. Like what an easy night's work for him.
So not much here. It pushed along the Patrick story. Bubba's more intense, longer than you maybe wanted or needed, but they kept it moving, and I like the ending a lot. So I actually went 2 1/4, so it wasn't far off from you.
There we go.
Yeah, it was entertaining enough.
I thought again, like this really helped play in the variety. Like this show, all the matches are different, so that's a big thing for me. Like match card variety, I love.
Yeah.
Lee Marshall Road Report from Knoxville, Tennessee. He mentions Dollywood. I got a pop from me as a Dollywood season pass holder currently. Lee lets us know Starrcade sold out, but there are some tickets available for Nitro in Knoxville. And he also saw a vacant lot near Knoxville and near Dollywood that Bobby can put his World Weasel theme park in. So we get the Weasel jab here. Tenay's cracking up when they come back to the booth. Bobby says he can have Lee as his main attraction for $5. You can ride him in a wheelbarrow. So see, that's good, Bobby. Do that.
Yeah.
They can do that.
The old Bob Hope jokes.
Right. And then the hits keep on coming when they roll this match out. I would love it. And I mean, Benoit and Guerrero faced each other so many times, it was like, all right. And I talked about on the last episode, I knew Regal and Psychosis had a couple matches together. I did not remember this match at all. So this took me by surprise. It's Dean Malenko versus Lord Steven Regal. They're again playing up Piper isn't there. And this is just a wrestling clinic, this match. So good chain wrestling, wrist drags by Regal are awesome. Test of strength, nip up, cartwheel, insecurity. Sonny Ono comes out to take some pictures, kind of scouting for the Ultimo Dragon versus Dean Malenko match at Starrcade. Regal locks on the cravat. He drives Dean down. Mark Curtis kicks out Sonny Ono, which was funny. We had two referees.
2 ejections.
Yeah, 2 ejections of 2 matches. Armbar and some joint manipulation as Tony gives us the rundown of all the satellite
It's a great Christmas gift us today. Great Christmas gift for Starrcade would be.
We got DirecTV, Dish Network, a couple I've never heard of, so we get the whole shield here. I thought a great
Prime
move.
is Prime. What's it called? Still one.
Yeah,
Prime 91 or whatever the fuck it was.
great move by Regal as he continues to choke Malenko with his leg while he argues with Mark Curtis. Does some submission stuff, some uppercuts, a drop kick. Malenko evens things up. A head scissor takes Regal down. He goes for the cloverleaf, but Regal blocks it. Then we get some nasty forearms and some uppercuts, some good exchanges. Regal then hits a drop kick to Malenko's back and hits a butterfly suplex. Regal misses a charge and hits the German. And then Dean hits a nasty brainbuster right as the bell rings, signifying a 10-minute time limit draw for this TV title match. Another great TV match, in my opinion. This is like catnip to me, though. I mean, they were wrestling. You had joint manipulation. You had weird submissions you don't see. They were rolling on the mat. They just let Regal do his thing. They let Dean can hang with him. I love this, so I went 3 3/4 for this too.
Yeah, as soon as Tony mentions the time limit, you knew where we were headed. But it was a good use of it. I mean, Regal's kind of been a master of the time limit game. Since he's been around, really, since as far back as 93 into 94 when he was first TV champ. That's kind of was his gimmick, and I think Dean's the guy to go with him. They must have been excited when they saw this on the lineup.
Yeah.
Knowing they could just go out there and do whatever. Because in the WCW world, you get this a lot. That's one kudos to them, on Nitro and stuff. They just make the match, and a lot of these guys just go do whatever the fuck they want to do. If it doesn't matter what the style is or what it is, as long as it stays in time. And you get the finish, which I liked. The draw's fast, but whatever. I like the German and brainbuster at the end was good.
Yeah.
It was exactly what you would picture. I mean, it was a tough spot in the night, especially right before the main event, the second hour. It's usually kind of a cooler spot with them, but the crowd was into it. It was slow and grinding. Regal getting a variance of opponents lately has been fun. We've seen a couple now with him. Different stuff. Was a Psychosis, right? We saw recently as well. It was a textbook education of wrestling, just buried late in the show. And Regal keeps his head up. So I went 3.5. I liked it a lot as well.
Good. Then that kind of leads us to our main event. A little bit of a weird main event. It's Rick Steiner versus Jeff Jarrett. Steiner takes him down. We get a lot of "We Want Sting" chants fire up. Steiner drives Jeff Jarrett into the corner. Steiner's giggling, legit audibly giggling as he hits an elbow drop. Jarrett comes back with a clothesline, gets caught with a pretty nasty belly-to-belly overhead suplex. This was another good bit of commentary. Bobby actually puts over Starrcade and the seriousness of it and how you don't want to miss it and all this. That was good. You immediately waste all that when we get to our finish where Sting comes out. Crowd boos right away. Pretty obvious that it's the fake Sting.
Yeah.
He goes to do the death drop on Jarrett, but gets Steiner line, and then Jarrett pins him for some reason. So I went 1.5 stars.
Stupid finish.
It wasn't much. I don't know what that was about, but it was more like the angle itself. But then again, commentary says they don't know which Sting it is. They're kind of insignificant. But finally, at the end, Tony says, "I don't think that's the real Sting." It's well, yeah. I mean, everybody in the crowd is saying it's not. So, why is everybody in the crowd smarter than you three announcers? So that was a little rough. But I like that the crowd was still hanging on it. They're not buying it. They want Sting and whatnot. So I'll give the crowd a kudos. And as far as an segment itself, it was fine minus the commentary.
Yeah, it was fine. The commentary was dumb. The finish is kind of stupid too. It made everyone look dumb, and it fucked the crowd up with the fake Sting. It just made it. Just have it be a DQ. Why is he pinning him? It just was stupid. It's not some moral victory. I don't know. I want 1.5 stars as well. It's a typical kind of. We get these on Nitro sometimes where the main event seems like it may be cool, but it ends up being 2 minutes and then into a promo or an attack or something like that. So it's not really, it's just a nominal main event.
Yeah.
And doesn't really deliver much beyond that.
Yeah. Main event's not really the main event.
Yeah.
So then they kind of leave it it's cold. You go to a break, Cole comes back, NWO music coming. You're well, who's this? Out comes Hogan. Solo. It's like, oh, I thought we saw this dude before. It's like, oh, he's back. That's when we get the see ya from Bobby. Hogan gets in the ring, lets us know he got the Western Union letter. For all you people that believed in Roddy, he dropped on his knees and wrote to him that Hogan is the icon. You're a lot greater than I dreamed I can ever be. At that moment, Roddy Piper's bagpipes music fires up. Crowd starts getting into it. Bobby immediately says the NWO is playing the music to rub it in. So he's hip to what's going on, like all of a sudden right away.
Mm-hmm.
Like he can't tell this is fake Sting, but he knows this one right out of the gate. And then Eric comes out, Eric Bischoff. He's wearing like a kilt, a Scottish hat, I guess you could say, and a red and yellow Hulkster T-shirt. Bobby calls him a Mick loser.
That's funny enough. Yeah.
Kind of good.
This poor crowd, though, at this point, you're thinking like they've just been through the ringer with some of these teases in this hour. They're like,
it was good.
Yeah,
it was good because they pay it off. I know they put them on the
good,
edge, but well, and so here's the thing with this crowd. Like we talked about it, like it's interesting if that. I mean, I'm sure there was a lot of crossover, right? So probably a lot of people that was at the Hall Nitro debut was at this show. And we talked about how like that's such a seminal moment on a bad show. We have Raw ahead that week, which is still crazy to think about. This is almost like the reverse of that, right?
Yeah.
Where we do end up getting the big surprise at the end, like it delivers, but it's like, oh, this show had like all this good wrestling and this like nice variety around it, and they kept like cock teasing you and like screwing you, like pulling the rug out from under you on these surprises. Eric's impersonation again, I thought was like actually kind of self-aware, where it's so like he's purposely so bad, and Tony even mentions it's like it's not even a good imitation, like it's awful. And the crowd, I don't think knew how to kind of take that. But again, it's all about the finish here. So what happens is, Eric says as Piper, he actually name drops WrestleMania, says there's no way in the world I can beat you. He calls for a referee to come out. They're going to do it right here, right now. Nick Patrick runs out. Tony says our sport has reached a new low. Tony's really good on this thing. He just appalled. And then Eric drops down. Hogan pins him with his boot like on his chest. Eric says he's always been a Hulkamaniac and like bows to Hogan as Piper. And at that time, we hear some bagpipe music, and it's actual bagpipes, and we get the full band come out. Hogan and Eric now look legit worried, and out Piper comes at the very end of our show. Crowd erupts at that. Piper has his no fear shirt on. He gets into the ring. And I actually didn't remember this either. I kind of thought they just may have done a stare down or whatever.
Yeah, no, he goes, they throw down. Yeah,
they throw down. The crowd's nuts for it. Like, it's great. Piper shrugs it off. And then Bubba and Wall Street come in. So that plays into before, like the extra insurance with the backup. And then here comes all the NWO. So eventually, like, Hogan's whipping Piper with his belt because of the numbers game. And about 50 security officers come out in yellow shirts. Vince security guys, they come out and separate them. As we frantically get we're out of time. See it this Sunday. They're gonna go at it. Your final shrill.
Wednesday, right? Was it? No, what night was? This is Sunday. Right? Yeah.
Yep. So great kind of final sell. So I thought this was a thumbs up segment. I love the reveal of Piper. One I didn't remember, but I thought was great.
Yeah, it was well done. Again, even though this ended up being a cool moment, and everything else, I still feel like maybe we're 1 week too many to build the hype. Like, I think they do a fine enough job, but I think we were like really peaking a week ago. And it feels like I'm still excited for the show. I think everyone's still pumped for it, but I think Starrcade this Sunday would have been maybe just slightly more effective. Although we do get the Luger Giant build, I think that's the biggest benefit to come out of this Nitro. into Starrcade more so than some of this. But they do fine with it to try and fill it out. The entrance of Piper was really cool. Sting watching
Yeah,
was
Sting's in the
interesting.
rafters too. Yeah.
Yeah, we see him watching, so that's good. A little late in the night, after all the teases at once, they paid off. Like, so it's right at the end for the crowd. But all in all, it's still a good ending, and they salvage a little bit of the teasing they did throughout the night. So,
yeah, I actually thought they peaked it pretty good. I'm on the they peaked it at the right moment.
all right, I think maybe 1 week.
Oh, they hadn't been physical. I mean, they hadn't been around, so I like that. I mean, this is the first time they've actually been face to face since World War III. So, I mean, it's been a long haul.
It has, yeah.
But
I mean, yeah. How many nitros? 1, 2, 3. This is our 5th nitro since World War III.
Yep.
And then lob on 1, 3, 4 more since Halloween Havoc when Piper debuted.
Yeah, I mean that bridge between Havoc and that's with all the Bischoff stuff. So that was
carrying it.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to our awards. Match of the night. I had Guerrero Benoit.
Yeah, it's pretty stiff competition, but I went that way too.
Moment.
I mean, that's like I do the 10-point scale. Like that was like a 7.7 match for me, and 7.8 is a 4-star match. So that was right on.
All right, the moment I went with Piper's entrance, his arrival.
Me too.
I ended up going Luger MVP though. I thought he looked awesome in the match. In the post match, he was super over. I thought he stood out the most, like the biggest star on the night.
Yeah, this may be one I'm pretty adamant on. I'm pretty adamant on Hogan. I thought Hogan was great.
Yeah.
Like it's cool. I just think like it's so easy for this angle for the NWO for everything to be cool,
right?
And I mean that's good. Like the Outsiders are playing that up, and that's good. And the Giants like throwing Rey Mysterio and that looking awesome. But like Hogan is able to be entertaining, which he wasn't at all in the beginning of the year, but to get the correct reaction from the crowd. Like he was not cheered on this night.
No.
And so he's done a great job in this role and being detestable, but not being like go away heat, like annoying too. So I thought it was very good. And just like the way he like at one point when Bischoff comes out as Piper, he like shakes his knees like really comically, like he's scared of Piper coming out. And then when Piper does come out, like the change in expression and how he was like worried and stuff, it was actually, it was cinema. It says the new WWE line that people say. Like, I mean, but it was like for Hogan, not the most nuanced actor in the world, but effective.
All right. I didn't have any shots fired. Kind of a rare Nitro with no shots fired.
No, I mean, actually, like Bischoff, I thought was pretty respectful in mentioning that, like WrestleMania, that they main evented another show a long time ago. Like
well, I think that helps really build a legend of the match.
It does, but it's kind of interesting that it's like it's not seen as like, right. I mean, compare that to 1987, where Andre hadn't lost in 15 years. Nobody slammed him and stuff. Yeah.
All right, debuts. He had Tombstone, Buddy Lee Parker.
Yep.
And I ended up going 7 out of 10 on this Nitro. A very, very good episode. I think I was a little lower on some of the stuff than you, so I'll be curious your grade. But still, I mean, doubled Raw, which is kind of hard on our scale to do a full double up. But this doubled up Raw for me.
Yeah, I initially put 7.5. As I talked through, I'm bumping it to an 8. I mean, to me, this is a great Nitro. It's a lot of variety. Two very good matches, a couple other good matches, entertaining stuff for me, and then a great segment to end. So, I mean, maybe like there's some stuff to nitpick like there, but I thought this was a very good go home show. I'm ready to watch Starrcade, so that's a good sell point.
All right. I'm going to read off the combo awards. You see if you agree. I'm going to predict what they are. Best show, Nitro.
Yeah.
Best match, Benoit Guerrero.
Yep.
And I believe that's already let's see, 1, 2, 3. They have another one in here. 4. a little bit. I think it's their 4th best match. 5. 5th. They've won it 5 times now. Best match. We have 76 combo awards. They've won best match 5 times.
Yeah, we talk about it like there's theories that like Nitro had all these great lucha matches, and we talked about that. Like, obviously, it was better in Pure Auth and Cybernetico.
Yeah,
but just like the matches that they gave time to, there wasn't a ton of them. There was a few, but I mean, Benoit and Guerrero, every time they rolled out there, they've given them a good bit of time, or has been very violent in the time they had, and it's just a classic pairing that works for sure on TV. So, and I mean, it's definitely presented as like a junior style, but not, it's not like high flying or whatever. It's a different time of dynamic for sure.
I wonder if we're going to get more of the lucha stuff. It's more like a 98 where they have the 3 hours and everything else going on, like where they really bloat the roster up and have like a ton of like lucha dudes on the roster, where that becomes more of the like, oh, we just have like 4 or 5 cruiser matches or whatever, like that becomes the style.
I think you may have that. I just don't think you're going to have the time. I think
Right.
actually, like, the weird thing is as they're,
there must be a lot. I think there's more of them.
It's more crammed in. Sure.
All right, best segment. We're gonna go with Piper.
Yep.
Better commentary, Nitro.
Yeah.
Even with Honky. Star of the night. I'll give you Hogan. You were more passionate than I was on Luger, so we'll give you that.
Yeah.
And we know Nitro on the ratings, so pretty dominant night for Nitro yet again.
This is a really bad Raw rating. I know I talked last time. I was wondering if they got preempted or something, because like they'd been 2.3 for 3 straight weeks. This week they're 1.5, which is, I mean, that's pretty significant.
I guess the people probably made a couple of things. People didn't care for the follow up to In Your House. Go home to Starrcade, so made more people tune into Nitro, but also it's Christmas week.
Christmas week, I think, is the biggest thing, because Nitro actually dropped 0.1. I mean, it's insignificant, but they went from 3.2 to 3.1, so it's not like that audience went from Raw to Nitro.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think Christmas week, I mean, it's a weird.
And last Nitro was great, so it's not like it was like a bad Nitro leading into this one.
No, I mean, the hype's been good, and you see next week they pull a significant tick up. So I think Christmas week for sure. Actually hurt Nitro. It definitely hurt Raw, but I think it actually hurt Nitro just from the quality standpoint of the show. So
Nitro's had a clean sweep 3 out of 4 weeks now. They had won every award for us. So they're rolling, and Raw's definitely in a rut. We'll see. We know the Cavalry's coming in 97. We'll see when, I guess.
There hasn't been. I mean, Raw's been able to sneak in some with those showcase matches like Mankind Undertaker, and we hadn't got one of the. I mean, maybe they thought Hemsley versus Mero would be that, but not versus this Nitro. Like, I mean, I think there's at least 3. I mean, most people would say there's at least 3 matches on Nitro that are better than Hemsley Mero. I'd probably have 4 or 5.
Yeah, and they, doubled up for both of us on that grade. So,
yep.
All right, we'll be back in 2 weeks with Starrcade for our 100th episode. So that'll be a lot of fun. We'll keep rolling on, Chad. We only got a few more here in 96, right? We got Starrcade and then the Raw Nitro the night after, and that's it. So 2 more, and then we're into 1997, which is exciting for sure. So check out everything we have to offer at northsouthconnection.com, here on YouTube, as well as our podcast feeds. Subscribe to us on all social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. We'll talk to you soon. Smell the napalm. Take care.